What y'all listening to?
Limelight Highlight Podcast.
And welcome back to the podcast, my beautiful listeners. I hope everybody had a great and productive and eventful weekend. I know I did. I've been pretty swamped with work lately, and I haven't been posting as much or as often as I'd like to. But as I said before, it's a one-man show, trying to make things a little bit better. But the reason I say that is because I got a message from a buddy of mine, Jerry Golden. I actually served with him in the Marine Corps a few years back, and he sent me a video about, the thing was about eco wave power. And I decided to dig a little bit deeper on what exactly that was. And as you know, some, if not most of my favorite news is about renewable, clean energy, figuring out how else we can help the planet by removing our huge carbon footprint and destroying nature and all that jazz, terrible jazz. But before we get on that, we have our weekly updates as always. So first things first, coming up August 25th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., meet up with our favorite nonprofit, The Block Gives Back. And shout out to Hair Wizards Barbershop because they'll be hosting the Block to School Drive. They're located at 6654 Frankfurt Ave and 1801 Cottman Ave in Philly. So if you in Philly, you got little ones, or if you want to help little ones, they'll be having that event there. Block to School Drive. They'll be giving out bags filled with school supplies. Hair Wizards will be hooking up all the kids with some free fresh cuts so they can go back to school looking fly. There'll be refreshments and tons of fun. So they'll be giving out at least 250 bags. Thanks to Hair Wizards and The Block Gives Back for putting this stuff together. And a big thank you to them as well for letting me and the podcast be a huge part of the sponsoring this event. August 25th, show up. There's still time to go to any one of the Dropbox locations to donate. I put them in the show notes from last week. I'll put them in the show notes this week. Get involved. And yeah, if you miss out, don't worry. You can always visit their website and cop some dope gear. The money always goes to a good cause, and you can look good and feel good knowing you bought something worth it. Check out theblockisback.org. Or, of course, if you want to just donate, you can go do that on the website as well. And last but not least, if you haven't gotten your tickets, there's still time. Babes Who Brunch, a women's empowerment mixer is going down September 15th. Tickets and information can be found on queencorner.com. And I have the honor of helping sponsor this event as well, because who doesn't want to support our ambitious women to work together and get things going? There's still time to get involved, even if you aren't a female. You want to get your business name out there or promote yourself, get involved and be a part of Babes Who Brunch with a sponsorship package. They'll be accepting applications for whatever package you sign up for until the deadline on August 31st. So go there now, DM the Queen Corner or Sky Butte Co. on Instagram for info, or like I said before, check out thequeencorner.com and see how you can promote yourself as well as feel good doing something, knowing it's going to a good cause. All right, guys, that is it for the updates. Now on to the podcast. So I'd like to start off with kinetic energy. And if you don't know what kinetic energy is, it's defined as energy with a body possesses by virtue of being in motion. Simple enough to make it even simpler. So some things move, whatever that may be is producing kinetic energy. Now, I've heard about this invention a while back, and as you all know, I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to the way things work, so I remember being fascinated with the idea of ocean buoys. You know, those things that float in the water out in the ocean with the little lights on them. Those are like buoys. And, well, that's called wave power. It's not a widely known or used technology, but there have been attempts to make to make it a little more popular and to implement it commercially since at least 1890, as per my research. It's pretty crazy, right? Now, to get a little nerdy on you, wave power. I'm just going to explain what wave power is because I really didn't know. Wave power is produced by the up and down motion of whatever floating device is that they're putting on the surface of the ocean. So the wind, buoys or whatever floating device, and the wind basically causes the waves to generate. And as the waves travel across the ocean, whatever technological devices that are put on the surface of the water, they catch that natural movement of the ocean, like the currents and the flows and the swells and all that stuff, to generate power. There's 3 ways of doing this, but the most common, and the one we'll be talking about today, uses buoys and float systems, as I mentioned before. And they rely on the rise and fall of the waves to drive these hydraulic pumps, which basically produce that kinetic energy that we talked about into the machine, which turns the energy into electricity. The good thing about these things are the energy's free, it's sustainable, renewable, and produces zero waste. Now you're probably wondering, why haven't we really heard much more about the kinetic energy or the wave power and stuff like that? Well, the reason that it's not as popular as wind or solar is because it's not as simple as wind or solar. A couple disadvantages of wave energy, as far as it being used commercially and like more, the reason you don't see it as much as solar and wind is because the production and installation costs. The maintenance it's not easy, and there's some potential threats to marine life, but not as bad as polluting our oceans, of course. And I started looking into all this because, Jerry sent me a video about this company called Eco Wave Power. And the company is actually the only grid connected wave array in the world. And I thought this was a good topic to cover on the podcast because they've developed a different method of collecting this kinetic energy. Now, as I said before, the reason it's a downfall is because of the construction or the maintenance, because you got to think they got to build a whole bunch of stuff in the ocean near wherever the waves are constant, and that has a lot of potential to hurt marine life or create a lot of noise pollution and a bunch of things that people, it's kind of a nuisance. And you got to think things in the ocean, salt water corrodes a lot of stuff, so it's probably going to have a lot of maintenance to do. So, but what's cool about this company, it's simple. They developed a simple but smart design that allows the flotation device to be attached to an existing man-made structure. So like a boardwalk or a dock, things of that nature that are already there, and they just kind of add on to it. The installation is simple, and because it's already there, it's pretty, easy to plug in and plug out. The maintenance is pretty easy to accomplish. Another benefit of this is there's no huge construction that needs to be done. So that basically solves all the disadvantages we spoke about. And so far, they're in Israel, Gibraltar. I hope I said that right. I'm not sure. And they are seeking to bring that technology, with the easy plug and play, to more countries that are suitable for wave energy, like the US, New Zealand, Canada, and South Africa, for example. Like those, they all meet those criteria to be good wave energy production countries. If you're interested, you can learn a lot more all about the company and how the technology works, in case I did a terrible job butchering the explanation. Their website is ecowavepower.com. I'll list it in the show notes to make it easier for you. So to recap, we've got solar, we've got wind, and now we've covered water. So all renewable energies that don't hurt the environment, they can actually help the planet and can be way more cost effective than harmful fracking and relying on fossil fuels, or as some morons in charge like to call it, freedom gas. I'm not saying we got to switch over immediately, and change everything overnight, because that'll definitely take some time. But man, what real excuses are there for not taking a more aggressive actions and moves on renewable energy? And any excuse you come up with is bullshit, and you know it. So if there are any other countries, we got all these other countries, not the U.S., that are leading the charge in production and clean energy, reducing our carbon footprint. And there's no reason, with all that, why one of the richest superpowers of the world is taking a backseat to this. And that's all I got to really say about that. But that's that. And now for listener news. Speaking on making the world a little better place, this story comes from our most featured guest, Hakeem Ruiz. You might know him as the vice president of The Block Gives Back. He's been on a few previous episodes. But he put us on to this story, or this article from Now This News. This chick, Anna Sachs, she's an activist, and she salvages thousands worth of usable goods to raise awareness about excessive waste by retailers. She works at a waste reduction consultancy firm, and in her free time, this is crazy, in her free time, she sorts through garbage at CVS locations in Manhattan. And if you know anything about Manhattan, there's a lot of garbage to go through. So she started this petition on change.org. And the petition is basically demanding that CVS change its policies and its waste policies. And as of August 5th, from when I seen the article, it has more than 230,000 signatures. So she's making some moves. The petition specifically asks CVS to donate to local charities and allow employees to take usable products home. She says she's salvaged hundreds of pounds of usable goods from CVS. CVS responds and says it has partnerships to arrange for damaged or near expired goods. And, collecting those things to be donated to people in need. This lady is doing all she can to make some change, and I commend her to doing it. So shout out to her. Shout out to Anna Sachs for doing the hard work, and shout out to Hakeem for putting us on with the story. And lastly, before we go, my wife and I have been, just kind of change the subject a little bit, but stay kind of on topic. We've been on this mindset to get out of debt like crazy. I'm not trying to sell you guys or make an ad for anything, but we've been so on that we both do Postmates now. We both work full time, and when we can, we try to get some extra cash and income so we can kill our debt even faster with Postmates. No, they're not sponsoring, and no, I'm not trying to plug, but she got an email the other day from Postmates, and that she shared with me, and we figured we'd share on the podcast, especially after we finished just talking about waste. So back to 2018, Postmates launched this program called Food Fight, and they launched a program to reduce food waste by making it easy for restaurants to donate their leftover food. Because you wouldn't believe how much the U.S., let alone other countries, just throw away their food. But since then, over 3,000 restaurants in 19 cities can tap a button to request a Postmates driver to pick up excess food and deliver to a nearby shelter. There's a link to the video that shows how this is done and how they put all that into place, and I'll put it in the show notes because I legit cannot do it justice by explaining how it all works. So I highly encourage you guys to check out the link, the video explaining how it works. It's not even 2 minutes long, so if you're interested, please check it out. I thought that was one of the coolest things, and not for nothing, me doing Postmates make me feel a little bit better doing that. And that's it. That is all we have for today's podcast. I hope I helped educate some of you on another form of renewable clean energy, wave power. I hope some of the stories we shared inspired you to go out and do something positive. And if it did, or if it even got you to get more interested in other positive stories or things you'd like to share with the podcast, please feel free to contact us on Instagram or Facebook at Limelight Highlight. Or if you want to email me directly, you can do so at limelighthhighlight@gmail.com. I'll always respond. I'm always down to read the listeners, what the listeners are saying and doing and sharing, as long as it's positive. So just to recap, remember August 25th, if you're in Philly, check out Hair Wizards, both those locations for the Block to School Drive. September 15th, get your tickets, Babes Who Brunch, Women's Power Empowerment Mixer. And as always, if you enjoyed this podcast, give it a rating, give it a like, or subscribe. We're on all platforms, including YouTube. Tell us how we're doing.